Hello, YouTube.
How you doing?
So, I love YouTube not just to produce, but I love watching story times and all that jazz and good stuff. And a lot of the stories I wanted to talk about the do's and the don'ts of a first date. And sometimes you can't predict what you're gonna do, but I just figured let me talk to my young ladies. I'm 34, and I remember being in high school, and a lot of guys asked me out on dates, and I turned everybody down because everybody was ugly. And my first official date was when I was 18. Like, everything started when I was 18. I started dating, I started having sex, like everything started when I was 18. So now that I'm 34, I know a thing or two. So I just wanted to share a few things. Nobody's perfect, but I feel like certain things could help, and so you won't mislead a person. Also, because for me, for the most part, I did pretty good with that. Most times, and I'll get into that, most times there was no kissing and stuff for the most part. But there's certain little do's and don'ts or whatever. But the story times that I've heard have been quite disturbing, and these are like real beautiful, beautiful ladies, and they're saying that these guys are asking them on dates, and the first date he wants you to pay. Like, I'm gonna tell y'all how to avoid that altogether. And it's not about being a gold digger, it's just you don't want to set yourself up for that. I could truly, truly, truly say that I could sit here before you that anytime that I've paid for a date, it was already told to me that they were broke. Like, they were honest enough to tell me, hey, I don't have it. Just like I told y'all about the worst date ever. He told me he didn't have money, and I was bored. My son was in Jersey, and I'm like, hey, I didn't want to be in the house. Now I don't care about being in the house. I could be in the house a whole week, and I'm fine with it. Like, I got the summer off. It's hot. No. But, so yeah, I'm gonna dig right into it. So, first of all, I feel like a lot of people are doing the online dating thing. I don't agree with it. But if you are online dating, ladies, you need to talk on the phone extensively before meeting someone. Why do I say that? Because a lot of times, I don't know if anybody's experienced this, but a lot of the times when men specifically don't want to talk on the phone, it's because they know that they have messed up personalities and they don't want you to pick up on stuff. And also, let's say if the person is not a talkative person, what are you going to be doing on a date, right? So do you really want to be on a date with somebody who doesn't talk? That's annoying, and then you have to do all the talking. So that's why I say specifically, and not just online dating, I don't care if you meet him at church, gas station, whatever, make it your due diligence that you talk to him every day for 2 weeks. Peep things at his consistency and how he act just by conversation. There's a lot of things you could pick up before you even meet the person, and just just like what I told somebody the other day. I had a Black People Meet account, Tinder, and I never met nobody on it because specifically Tinder, they all had horrible attitudes over the phone. So I only met one person over Facebook, and I think I told y'all about him. He went to jail for child porn. If I would have had at least 1 or 2 more conversations with him, we would have never met. I don't regret going to his church. I don't regret going to the Harvard alumni spot. But had I spoke to him just 2 more times, I feel like that could have been just avoided. We didn't have to meet. And talking on the phone is very, very, very important. It really is, because it reveals so much. Like, you could see somebody at work that you might have a crush on, or school, and then you start talking to them on the phone, and it's like, wow, this is who you are. Even in a friendship, like, you'll be surprised, like, you meet someone and you think that they cool, you start talking to them on the phone, and it's like, what? That's how you really think about life? Like, so it's very important, ladies, to be intuitive. Like, you could really see where their head is at. One of my favorite story time people is Renee Beauties, and she's 25, I think, now. And I think I talked about her before. Like, she got good stories, but a lot of her advice, like, one time she was going in on somebody and I felt like it was wrong. But what was I saying? Yeah, so she said she never been on a date or whatever. And I actually commented. I was like, we need an update on your date, because you said you never been on one, but you're giving people all this advice. Like, I'm not going to give advice on something I know no knowledge of. That's just me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't, just like I can't give somebody real estate advice or about a house or a car. I don't have a car. I don't have a house. I have an apartment, but I can't say, oh, da-da-da-da, but you know what I mean? Like, I can't give advice on something that I don't know no knowledge of, right? So, the do's and the don'ts. Like I said, first of all, if you're meeting someone, especially online, I suggest, there was like 2 or 3, it was 2 instances, I'm gonna tell y'all real quickly. An Israeli guy, I remember he said he was from Israel, and he had called me on Thanksgiving, and I thought that was very rude, because it's like, obviously it's Thanksgiving, like, don't you think I'm with family, friends, whatever? Or even if I'm home by myself, you think I want to sit there and talk to you and it's a holiday? Like, I feel like this is how I am. I feel like, first of all, the type of person I am, I know that everybody's not a phone person. So for me, I'll text you and ask you, can I call you? Because I don't know if you're driving. I don't know what you're doing. And in this case, he didn't know me at all. We never met. It's Tinder. So I was like, today is Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you. I would, I think I was at my friend's house or whatever. And I didn't call him back till I got home. He got upset by that. So that right there tells me controlling, weirdo, whatever. And I told him straight up, I said, at least I'm calling you back. Why is that not good enough? I said, and what do you want, by the way? I asked him, I was like, are you looking to date, or are you looking for a relationship or whatever? And he got upset by that. Like, everything I was saying to him, he was just getting upset. And I'm like, you know what? Lose my number, because we not going to get along. It's like, why is it everything I say, you're just getting upset? And that's so annoying to me, because you do have personalities like that. It's like you walking on eggshells. I'm not going through that with no grown-ass man. So that was that. Then it was another incident where this guy, he claimed he was a Howard University alumni. That's a HBCU. Yandy had graduated from there. And Yandy for Love and Hip Hop. She's an alumni. And he had pictures of him on a drum line. And he was talking about he wanted to come over. I said, I've never met you. I don't even know if I'm attracted to you, so that's a dub. He got upset and was like, oh, you just mad, I just want one thing. I was like, yeah, I would, I have to meet you first. I'm not just gonna say, come on. I said, you're putting yourself in danger too. I said, for you to be an educated man, you act really stupid. I said, we've never met. I could see if I met you in a club, or, which, by the way, I don't talk to guys I meet in the club, because why don't I date guys I meet in the club? Because I feel like there's a lot of beautiful women in the club, and for you to approach me and try to talk to me, that's something that you do. And I would not want to date a guy like that, because it shows that you're not very selective in your dating choices. Like, we all know all different types of people go to the club, but I just feel like you a thirsty dude for that. That's just my opinion. And I feel like it's too easy. It's like talking to somebody from the street. You walking down the street and you ask for a girl number. That's too easy. I don't talk to guys who try to holler at me in the street either, because it's just too easy. It's just too, and plus that stuff I did when I was 18, 19. Yeah, 18, 19. By the time I had my son, I wasn't doing that. I wasn't talking to nobody, because it's just too easy. But anyway, so, I didn't meet you in person, so I'm not going to invite you to my home. I don't know, you might do something to me, and I was telling him too, I said that that's something you do. Somebody could set you up to get robbed or killed. Like, why would you just go to somebody's house? I thought that was just so weird. And then he was going in on me because I wouldn't let him. I said, I'm done with Tinder. And then I remember telling my nail tech, I used to go to a black nail salon before they shut down pre-pandemic, and she was like, yeah, Tinder is a fucking site. Like, everybody knows that, it's a fucking site. So I'm like, no wonder, because it's a bunch of weirdos. I'm like, I couldn't do no online dating. It's never that serious. But the dudes in it, but imagine if I didn't, and we didn't even talk on the phone. This is like message. Imagine if I just agreed to meet up with him. I probably would have ended up wasting time because of his mentality. And obviously that's something that he does. He hooks up with girls off the internet and has sex with them over and over again. It's understandable if you do it once in a blue, but just the way he was talking to me and just being so irate, I could tell that that's something that he does. He's a male whore. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's so important. Before you go on a first date, talk to the person. Make it your due diligence to talk to them about anything. And you'll just see where their head is at, With Renee Beauty's Irene, her first name is Irene, she was talking about a guy from Instagram. They never went on a date. She never said that they went on a date. But he was just being offensive and very hurtful to her. So that right there, she was like, they did talk on the phone and they used to fall asleep. But she was blessed to see the other side of him before she even went on a date. And that's pretty good. Sometimes we don't see things until it's too late. But I'm telling you, talking on the phone, it reveals a lot. It reveals a lot. I don't know if I told y'all about the ungodly soul tie that I had for years or whatever, but one thing about that guy, even though we messed around for years off and on, like when I was lonely, I would go to him like a vampire who needed blood. But one thing about him, we never talked on the phone. And I think he did that because he didn't want me to really know the real him. See, the devil, I'm not going to even say the devil. People who know that they have fucked up personality traits, they don't want you to pick up on that. So they're going to do stuff like, oh, I'm not like a person who's a liar specifically, they're not going to want to really talk on the phone because they know that their lies are going to overlap. And if you have a decent memory, you're going to be like, but didn't you say this? Didn't you say? So those type of people sometimes may not want to talk on the phone. Or like, he wasn't like a bad liar, but he did lie about a few things. But I was just using him as an example because he's like, oh, I'm not a phone person. So literally for 6 years when we messed around off and on, he didn't want to, he's like, I'm not a phone person. We never spoke on the phone. We would talk face to face, and just that little bit of talking, he would say weird stuff. Like, I was thinking about what he said the other day. So we do our do, and we finished, and he's on his phone. I said, what you looking at? He's like, oh, it's this girl that I messed with for 10 years. Mind you, I thought 6 years with him was bad enough. He messed with a girl for 10 years off and on. she moved on, got a boyfriend, and was having a baby. You know what this Negro said? He said, oh, she was messing with me for 10 years and she never had my baby. How she having this baby? I said, did you and her date? Like, that was your girlfriend? He said, nah, but we messed around. I said, but why would you want her to have your kid? Like, why would you? And then one time via message, he was telling me, oh, you need to fall in love with me. I was like, why I need to fall in love with you? You're not in love with me. Like, it's just that control thing. But I said all that to say this, like, yeah, it's good to talk to see where a guy's head is at. And then you like, what? That's how you think? That's your mentality? Like, who are you? Like, and then they look at you like you weird. Like, no, nigga, you weird. That's how, that's how you see the world. Like, you think that that's okay? So I feel like with the men, with all these men, because I wanted to talk about it because it's a little bit too many females going on YouTube saying that they paying for the first date. I feel like to avoid that, ladies, is to talk to them and first try to, I feel like also for a first date, like this is the first time y'all hanging out, society may say 5-star restaurant. I really don't believe in that because just like I told y'all in a previous video with my homeboy, he took a girl to a Thai restaurant, and to him it's not a bunch of money, but to me that's a nice date. I feel like go to like a takeout spot, go to like a outdoor burrito place, a taco shop, the park. It's summertime, the park, Starbucks. If she has an issue with going to those places, she's not feeling you. And all women are different, but I think I speak for all women when I say if she's feeling you, like if she's really feeling you and this is y'all first date, as long as y'all not in the house, she'll be happy. I repeat that. As long as y'all not in the house, she will be happy, right? She will be very happy because it's your presence that she wants to be around. And it's plenty of guys that I've told that to. I said it doesn't matter where we go, it's the time spent together, right? It's summertime, so if it's a first date, in reality you shouldn't be spending all that money, because if y'all spend, I know for me in my past, I've never paid for no first date beside the time of when I told you the guy that was high in the Hooters. That was the only time. But he did tell me I'm broke, so I can't get mad. He told me he was broke. Now you got, according to these story times, these men are not telling them, but I feel like if you talk to them and say, oh, so where are we gonna go? We're gonna go here, there, and everywhere. Oh, did you get paid? Like, those are little questions that you could ask. Now, granted, you're not gonna always think that, but since this is something that's going on heavy, I've seen at least 20 story times with girls that's had to pay for the first date. I feel like it could be avoided if you just talk to the person, you know, and just try to see where their head is at. What do they feel about dating? What do you want from this? Do you want something casual, something serious? I feel like you can kind of feel your way. And if you have a car, like they say, always have your own car. For me, make sure your Uber account is updated, because these dudes are weird, you know. And I'm like, what? This is what dudes are doing nowadays? They making chicks pay the first date. That's crazy. But I could believe it because, like I told y'all with my little experience, he told me ahead of time, but the broke businessman that I told y'all about, remember him? He made me pay for the party. So he paid for dinner, but he paid I paid for the party for us to get into. And he told me to go to the ATM, take out $40. I'm like, what is this for? Oh, to get into the party. Like, what? This nigga was But yeah, so I feel like a lot of things could be avoided if you just listen. I've avoided a lot of craziness in my life from people by just listening to them, see where their head is at. You know, sometimes with a guy not paying and then you have to pay for the first date. Also, if it's a restaurant situation and he's talking about something, he don't got money, ladies, pay your half and leave. There's no law saying that you have to pay for him. And I wish I would have known that in my younger days. That's why I'm making this like public service announcement. There is no law nowhere that says that you have to pay for somebody. Even in friendships, you have people that are bullies and they'll make you feel like you gotta pay for them. No, you do not. You have to pay your half and you could walk the fuck out. Yes, you can. So that would be my advice to all my young ladies. If a guy at the last minute, you had no idea that he was broke, you did everything, you spoke to him, he made you feel comfortable, whatever. Yeah, the light is a little bit better. Okay, so yeah, you've done everything, you've spoken to him, he said, yeah, I get paid and everything, whatever, and you thinking he got money or some type of income, and then the bill comes and he's like on some bullshit. Like recently, I hung out with an old friend and he tried to talk about I left my wallet in the car. I said, go get it. The fuck I look like? And I was dead serious and he knew I was serious. I said, I'm gonna pay my half and I'm gonna leave. I'm not paying your half. We not doing that no more. Cause I used to pay for us for like 6 months straight, and he turned around and said, nobody asked you to do that. So that taught me never again. Like, I would never be that nice to another man ever again in my life. Like, you know, even though you in your 30s, sometimes we still make silly mistakes because we feel like, oh, well, he did this. No, just because he do whatever, that's what he's supposed to do. All right? No, we not about that, because you wouldn't want somebody to do that to your daughter, so don't do it to me. Don't do it to, you know. And that's what guys don't think. That they think that, you know, whatever they thinking, but it's like what you send out is gonna come back. It may not come back to you, but it'll come back to your child. Like, I could never sit there and use a man for his money. I've never used a man for his money, and I never would do that. I have a boy child. I wouldn't want somebody to use my son as an ATM. That's wicked. Karma is really a bitch, and it could come back to you too. You using a guy for money, and then he give you a STD. You using a guy for money, and then you find out he married. You using a guy for money, and next thing you know, somebody's scamming you at identity theft. Like, karma is real, and I've seen it in my lifetime. But yeah, ladies, make sure you have at least, I would say, have at least 5 phone conversations. How long do they have to be? At least a half an hour. Talk about anything. But try to talk about money without talking about it, if that makes sense. Like, most men will ask you, what do you do for a living nowadays? Which I think that's a little weird, because that shows that they're used to being used, so they want to make sure you got your own bag. Sir, that shows you're desperate, because why is it that, like, it was this white guy on Instagram, and he was like, oh, I don't want to get used again or whatever. I'm like, okay. But that just shows that you settled as a man and you let yourself get played. Like, nobody could use you for money unless if you allow them to use you, you know. And there's women who, you know, they take care of a man financially for years at a time. And, you know, I don't feel sorry for them, because at the end of the day, it's like nobody could, you know, you're allowing it. So it's like, you know, you're supposed to move on from that and learn from it. But yeah, conversation is important. If he's like, oh yeah, I get paid every week or every 2 weeks, whatever, y'all establish that, okay, this dude got an income, we should be good. But as a woman, ladies, you should encourage something that's not so expensive. You know, especially if he's a regular dude. Now, if he's a real estate agent, a doctor, even still, like I told y'all about the doctor that I hung out with one time. Even though he was a doctor, actually he was doing his residency. And I looked it up, they don't make much. So that's why I was like trying to find a spot to ease on his pockets, because I knew he wasn't caking it like that. But regardless of the fact, don't be afraid to be like, oh, because most dudes are lazy and they're not going to pick the spot. They'll be like, oh, where you want to go? The question right then and there, ask them, what's your budget? Don't be afraid to ask them. If they get offended, that's probably somebody you shouldn't be dating anyway. But that's what I'm teaching myself. Like, oh, where do you want to go? What's your budget? Let me know your budget. If your budget is 300 and less, I'll make sure I pick like a non-chain. First of all, chain restaurants, the food nasty anyway. But chain restaurants are very expensive. I'm going to tell y'all that right now. It's like everything is backwards now. You could literally go to a non-chain restaurant and pay $100 or $150. And if you go to a chain restaurant, no. Yeah, you could go to a non-chain restaurant and pay under $100 and then go to a chain restaurant and pay $150, $200. It's so backwards now. So I would say no chain restaurant. Try to find like your local, you know, whatever. Try like, even if it's your first meetup, like y'all from the internet, whatever, coffee shop. I don't think you should break a guy's pockets regardless of what he makes. Because for you as a female, you don't want to feel like, oh, you wasting this guy. Because think about it, you got to put yourself in his shoes. And I say that because I've been on both ends of the spectrum. So imagine if you pay like $200-$300 on a person in one night. And then you do it again and again and again. And in the end, they're like, I don't want no relationship. You gonna feel used, right? You gonna feel played. So imagine like how a guy feels. Like, even though, yes, just because you're spending his money, that doesn't mean you're obligated to whatever. But you gotta look at it as, what if it was you? What if it happened to your brother, your father, your uncle, your son? You know, if you have kids, like, how would you want somebody to treat them? And that's how you should act accordingly on a date. And guys too, it's like, y'all got sisters, y'all got mamas, y'all got friends, y'all got all these females that's around y'all, and y'all treat women like y'all don't got mamas. Would you want somebody, you know, making your mother pay on the first date? That's not fair and that's not right. And especially if she got kids, you're taking money away from her kids, essentially. You know, then you got some guys that's bold enough to, they want everything. You go to the movies, they want popcorn, candy, they start ordering everything. Come on now. Now you pushing it. They want food and drinks. No, you doing too much. You ain't got no money, be humble. You know, order you a salad. Don't order filet mignon, knowing damn well that you ain't got no money. You know? Like, it was this girl on YouTube. She was like, her and her friend was ordering mad stuff, lobster, all this stuff. And the dude didn't pay. And the dude was like, I would have paid for you, but not your friend. So why didn't you do that? Why didn't you do that? You know, luckily she had money and her friend paid for herself, but that was whack. That's lack of communication. You should have told her right to her face, hey, I'm paying for you, not your friend. And I'm sure they probably would have been, they might have been upset, but at least it's like, okay, you don't just run away from the bill like that. Like, that's crazy. But yeah, so conversation, Try to get to know the person a little bit before the first date. And treat others the way you want to be treated. And those are my thoughts.